Hi, and welcome to this installment of Frank and Mary here in Southborough. If you haven't seen this show before, my name is Art Bergeron. My day job is I work as an elder law attorney at Myrick O'Connell up the street in Westborough. But this is not about my day job. It's about my friends Frank and Mary. If you've been to my Southborough presentations, you know that Frank and Mary's goal in life is to live in their house until they die and be buried in the backyard. And if that's Southborough, that means they want to stay right here. And so the point of this show in general is to help you think about or be aware of the people you need to know, the programs you need to know about in order to stay happy right here in Southborough. Doug and I, my wonderful co-host, Doug Peck, has been doing these shows with me for a long time now, because Doug is a Southborough person, as you know, has been living here for a long time. And his day job is involved in senior issues at Seniors Helping Seniors. We were talking about the fact that we really want to be looking at our shows into the next several months as really just being all about, COVID, because I know it's terrible what's happening, the number of people that have died, that are hospitalized. And if, especially for you as seniors, you want to stay in touch with all of these things, and we want to talk about those issues. And we want to also try to keep you in touch with the vaccine, with how things are how things are going to work, how that's changing, what you should know about this, whether you want to be taking the vaccine, where you can get it. So we want to be talking about a lot of these issues. And so Doug has got some wonderful guests here today. And I know that, we've always opened with Pamela Francis, and thanks very much to Pam for continuing to come back and take this time out of her busy day job to do this stuff. But Doug, I know you're moderating all of this. We've got some great guests. Who have we got? What are we talking about?
We do. We are going to start off with Pam, but then we're going to go to our two guests, Tammy Pozerycki and Dr. Michele Ricard. And we're going to be talking really about one of the aspects of COVID, and that's the social isolation that has occurred because of it, and what sort of to do about it. What are some of the effects? What kind of risks should you be taking, and can you take now before the vaccine comes about? Because I really think we're several months away from really that having any kind of impact. But I'll let them talk about that as well. So I think it's going to be a very interesting show to talk today. So let me introduce, Pam. Everybody knows Pam because really the Senior Center is a big part of alleviating social isolation as best they can. There's a lot of programs and things going on that can really help people. It's a little different than before, but it's still very helpful. Pam?
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me. As always, we are reaching out to people in a number of different ways to keep people healthy and entertained, and just keep people as busy as possible to get through this winter. So we use a number of different formats. We use Zoom, we use cable, and we use drive-through events when we possibly can. We're in contact by phone with a lot of people. The other thing that we're doing that I just want to let people know is we do outreach. We're working kind of by age, working backwards, trying to check in with everybody through our volunteers. We have a program where you might get a phone call and say, hey, how you doing? We'd like a volunteer to stop by and bring you a little treat and just say hi. If that's something that you want us to do for you, please let us know. We had some little kinder group carolers out over the holidays. So we're trying to do some face-to-face with some people that want to volunteer. And basically it allows us too to check in with everybody and make sure everybody's doing okay, and see if you need somebody, make contact that way. So there's if you need anything, or if you'd like to be part of that program and you haven't been called yet, let us know. Happy to come out and say hi. So coming up, as far as the Zoom category is concerned, we will be offering a program called Joys of Nature. One of the programs is on New Zealand, penguins, parrots, and pods. The other is whales, castles, butterflies, and more. And for some real excitement, we're going to have Zoom with the Senior Center staff. So that ought to be interesting. So hopefully people will stop in and say hi, and we can see some people face to face. We would love that. So I've got a feeling we might get some takers to come say hi. We've also got a couple of cable shows, one on Martin Luther King and one on the blizzards of New England, and I'm hoping we don't have many of those. We've cut some drive-through events. We're going to be brave. We're going to try our drive-through events. So we're getting a lot of phone calls for registration. That's happening. Our phone is kind of ringing off the hook for people to sign up for those. We will be doing a drive-through. It's kind of like a cup of chowder and a sandwich. That's coming up this month. And the other drive-through is a chicken parm dinner.
Ooh.
So we didn't put in more just because we want to test them out through the winter and see how we hold up, see how the weather holds up. And hopefully you can take advantage of one of these formats and check in with us. But you can always reach us by phone. We are working semi in the office. If we're not here, just leave a message for who you'd like to speak to. And we get our messages on our email right away. So we will call you back. If you want to make a Shine appointment or anything like that, give us a call and check in with us. We also have our fitness classes. Those are still going on. Those are very popular. We've got some chair aerobics. We've got strength training. We've got a stretch class. They've all been very popular. We are also adding a Qigong class. That's a new program that's coming up too. So we've got a lot going on. And like I said, we are kind of checking in with people behind the scenes. So if you'd like to make contact with us and for any reason, give us a call, leave us a message. We'd love to talk to you. So thanks for having us. I mean, that's what we're trying to do, keep people out of that isolation category the best we can. So hang in there, everybody. Spring's coming. So
thanks, Pam.
10 weeks away, 10 weeks
Yep.
away till the first day of
Counting.
spring. It's almost here. I can feel it in the air. Except that I'm looking at the
Thanks.
snow that's falling right
Right.
now outside, but I can feel it in the air.
we have to get you one of those tropical backgrounds, Arthur.
All right, thank you again, Pam. We're going to have
Thank
Pam
you.
on at least at our first show of every month to update folks of what's going on. So stay tuned for that. And I think we may be seeing more of her in some other spots as well on cable. Thanks.
Thank you. Have a good
So-
day.
Yep. So let me introduce both Tammy and Dr. Michele Ricard. Dr. Ricard is a retired geriatrician in the area in Marlborough. Tammy is what I would call an Alzheimer's expert. She does a ton of training around all aspects of dementia and Alzheimer's. Also formerly from Marlborough or Northborough and now in nearby Clinton. And they've been working together and known each other for quite a while. And when we were talking, we just thought that, I mean, even I'm making judgments about, so when do I go out? Where do we go? What's the risk you run by going out? What's going to happen with the vaccine? So there's a lot of questions out there. And I thought these were just two very good perspectives to have on this subject. So let me just open asking Tammy, how do you want to start, Tammy?
Sure. What I'm finding in my line of work is what I'm hearing from colleagues, what I'm hearing from families in the community who are caring for people with dementia. But this, of course, is going beyond my expertise in dementia because there's so much isolation right now and so much disconnect for people to have human connections with each other. And that's a basic need. We have a basic need for intimacy, human touch, connection, socialization. And what I'm seeing is an incredibly increasing rate of death among people with dementia, in particular, because of the fact that in residential communities, they're in their rooms. There's no real engagement. I'm working with families in the community right now where it's a spousal situation where one has dementia, one doesn't, and they're together 24/7. They don't know what to do. And the devastation is depression, anxiety, and then moving forward to medical complications. And what Dr. Ricard and I discussed back in the spring was the fact that people were in hospitals dying alone, not able to have a loved one by their side. And this, in some instances, this is still happening. And
Mhm.
so I think from Dr. Ricard's point of view, that need for human touch, and although we are taking precautions to decrease our risks for COVID, we're also now increasing our risk for emotional and physical complications due to that.
Mhm.
So,
So, let me turn to you, Dr. Ricard. One of the questions that I know I get from some of our clients, and I consider myself as, you know, um, I've been, should people be postponing sort of doctor's appointments? I mean, I know they're there. Some of them are doing health, but I'm not sure that's a good substitute for everything. Is it safe to go to a doctor's office now for the most part? Do you know?
I would say that it is safe to go to doctor's appointments. In fact, I was with my mother-in-law yesterday at her doctor's appointment, and everything is being done by the book as far as social distancing, checking temperature, wearing a mask. I went into the visit with her and I was checked as well.
Mhm.
But no, I would absolutely not postpone doctor's visits. The doctors, this particular doctor, was totally gowned and keeping herself safe, keeping us safe from her and all that every which way. So I absolutely would not cancel doctor's appointments or feel fearful about going. My mother-in-law was told that the COVID's floating in the air and therefore she shouldn't even wander outside of her front door without a mask. I'm like, Ma, it's not floating in the air like that. You open your front door and breathe without a mask on, So
Well, let's talk about that. I mean, because even though the weather is cold right now, people seem to be a little bit afraid of going outside for taking walks and things like that. But you say that that can be very safe.
absolutely very safe. I mean, there's nothing more healthful than being outside with nature. And we have to remember that our mind and body are one thing, and that we have to keep the mind healthy as well as the body healthy. And walking outside is keeping the body healthy because you're out there physically exercising and walking, and you're keeping the mind healthy by being in touch with nature, seeing what's out there, maybe walking with a friend or something like that. So I think that it's very good to get outside, and you don't have to worry about, people walking on the other side of the street. That you're not going to get COVID from somebody walking on the other side of the street. And you can go out on a trail walk. You don't have to worry about, being all covered up in plastic going on a trail walk. You can go on a fine. It's healthy.
So, Tammy, as you were talking about, the isolation, this seems like a pretty, simple way that anybody can get out. Again, dress warmly, even somebody with dementia, particularly would be helpful to get out, take a short walk, or even just maybe even sit outside. If you've got a porch or a deck or a patio, bundle up, get out for a little while, and get the fresh air. I mean, that's even a break from looking at four walls that you've been staring at correctly for for the
yeah,
last
I've
9
actually
months.
I've had some experience with some families struggling to get their loved one to go out. There's a lot of sensitivity to the cold
Mhm,
as you age in general, but as people look outside, I look outside right now and it's gray and it's,
mhm.
got snow on the ground. And so what I would suggest is even going for a ride. If you have
Okay.
if you still drive and you have a loved one you're caring for, can
Mhm.
you get them in the car, go for a drive drive, park where there's a nice view, open the windows a bit, bring some hot chocolate.
Yeah.
I think that's another way we can visit with our loved ones is, make some hot cocoa and go to their doorstep and sit out on the porch, even for 5 minutes. I
Mhm.
know I was explaining, I think to you before, before Christmas, we all celebrated via Zoom, but I drove to my parents' house. I had a mask on and they had masks on and we were outside and I said, okay, hold your breath. I need a hug. And that's what it really kind of comes down to, that touch, that
Mhm.
need to have that touch and support and engaging with nature. Absolutely. But
Mhm.
what are we looking at in terms of the devastation of what's happening now to reduce our risks of COVID? And maybe Michele can touch upon this, where you know maybe a person decides, you know what, I'd rather die happy than die in this box that I'm stuck in, day after day with no contact. Because we've got to understand there's not a lot of older adults out there that are connected virtually in this
Mhm.
world, especially if you have dementia. It's much harder to navigate a Zoom call.
Mhm.
So that's just, what
By
I'm.
the way, Doug, I was amused. That's such a great notion. Hold your breath. I need a hug. The notion that, that the germs are spreading because of the way that you're breathing. And I was thinking about, for all of those people out there, you're thinking of those people that, you'd be willing to go visit them, but you're like, well, what are we going to talk about for an hour? Well, this is your perfect excuse. It's COVID. Go for 5 minutes,
Right.
go to the door, say hello, just to give the person on the other side of that screen or of that door just
Right.
a sense of a real human being, a
Yes.
non-TV human being. It's wonderful.
Yeah. And that's why I like Pam's even little idea. We'd like to bring you a little gift. Maybe it's a donut, maybe it's a little piece of cake, maybe it's something, a small thing of flowers. It's the little, what I'm finding, it's just the little gestures that have big meaning nowadays for folks. It doesn't have to be a great big elaborate deal.
I'd like
The
to just
small,
recommend one thing. I mean,
okay.
what about if you in your community or your neighbors are older adults and they're isolated? Could you just knock on their door with a
Right.
mask and say, "Are you okay? Can I bring you some soup? Can I
Yeah.
bring you some food?" I mean, I just, how can we make those connections better?
Right. And Dr. Ricard, again, that's pretty low risk. If you both have masks and you're standing at the doorway, even for a few minutes, then what are the chances of somebody getting COVID from that? I mean, it's got to be pretty minimal.
Well, I think the studies on infectivity have really been done in closed rooms and very, very orchestrated. So we
Hmm.
actually don't have data on somebody standing in a doorway 3 feet apart wearing masks and seeing how easy it is to get COVID from one person to the other.
Yeah.
We don't have that actual hard scientific data, but we can say that it takes 15 minutes in a closed, like, hospital patient's room to get it, and that's with totally no barriers or anything like that. So the chances of you getting COVID standing where the air is flowing completely outside the house, even without a mask, although we probably shouldn't say that, but even so, being outside with that person, the chance of getting COVID, from what I have read and can see, is
Hmm.
minimal, really, really minimal. And
Hmm.
I agree with the hugging thing. I hugged my mother-in-law after our visit, and we both said, "Okay, are we okay with this? Yes, okay, let's hug." And we hugged, and that's what she said to me, that she misses that physical, that
Yeah.
physical that hug, that handshake, whatever. And I don't think we should be afraid of that. Now, if you're going to a crowded room with 40 people and no one's got protection and everyone's hugging everybody else, well, yeah, you're going to spread a cold, flu, whatever. But I think if we're careful, and you know that your mother-in-law is being safe, or your mother's being safe, and you're being safe, and you come together and have a hug, I really don't think that's going to be a problem.
Right. And what I found too is a lot of our clients are at home. They're basically alone or with one other person. They don't have a lot of other people coming in, so they're not exposed to it. And so if you've been very similar, it's fine, I think, to give a hug. I mean, it's really, if nothing else, just hold their hand for a few minutes, you know?
Right.
I mean,
And if you're that worried and you hold their hand, then you go and wash for 20 seconds. You know,
go wash after. Absolutely.
count to 20.
Absolutely.
Really,
I think you're right. I mean, I think we've been, the fear has been really,
yes.
really out there, and because it is real, but it's not going to happen on an individual basis for a few minutes. You know, that it's about the crowds that you see. I know I had a client just yesterday who he needed help getting in and out of his wheelchair into the car and out of the car. And so I have to hold his hand and hold his arm and help him up. And, I haven't really touched a lot of other people either, but I felt it was the right thing to do. And I'm not worried about getting COVID from him. We both wore masks in the car. If you're uncomfortable in the car, it's a closed space and it's cold to roll down the windows, wear a mask. You're not going to be in there that long, but I could see I actually took the long way around a couple places because he hadn't been out of his facility in a few weeks, and I could see him looking around at everything and enjoying it, because you just do go stir crazy, and you just sort of have to take a little bit of a risk for your own mental health.
I think that you just nailed it when you said, just weigh your risks. I mean, because with stepping, going down a flight of stairs, we have risk, right?
Yeah.
So it's, how can we reduce our risk without really putting our emotional well-being and our physical well-being at risk?
Right.
Because we're trying. Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Michele.
That brings us to that thing that we were just about to touch on, and that is that it's your decision about what you do. And this is something that the older person should discuss with their family, that I don't want to get COVID no matter what, so I don't want to see you except on Zoom, or it really means a lot to me to see my grandchildren, to see my daughter, to see my son, whoever, and I want you to come. If I get COVID, then that's my decision. It's like the most form. It's your personal decision whether you want resuscitation and all those other things. Your personal decision. Or like Atul Gawande in his book, it's your path, it's your life. You make the decision where you want to do what you want to do. And it's the same. I think it's the same with COVID. Not that we don't have societal responsibilities and all that stuff, but you're within your own little circle. I have the right to make that decision and should feel free to make that decision.
Right. And I think you're right. So I don't think a lot of the elders are going out, into society at large, attending parties or going into spaces where there's a lot of other people. They're basically at home for the most part, or sometimes maybe shopping once a week. And you take that risk going shopping once a week. So, I think you have to loosen up a little bit with your family if you know the circumstances, if they've also been careful. Hopefully they have been.
Right.
They respect you and are going to take the necessary precautions to see you.
I think that it was great to have Pam on at the beginning of the show, because I think this is an ideal time for folks to be taking advantage of what the senior center has to offer, to be calling them, to be finding out, do you want to talk to somebody there? You want to get a call. Do you want to connect somehow? Right. Because I think we all deal with this. We're all dealing with a lot of seniors, and oftentimes their circle is limited, right? And for many of them, their circle is limited and not around here, that people aren't around here. So for them to be able to take advantage of the connections that the senior center can offer, And I know it sounds like a hassle. My wife and I were talking about the fact, that this COVID has brought out the monk in all of us, the kind of cloistered, right? Oh, well, I'd rather just kind of be by myself. And so it may very well be that you haven't seen a lot of people, and that kind of perpetuates itself because you're like, oh, you're kind of afraid to talk to anyone, right? But the senior center is kind of there for all of that, and they're volunteers. They're just part of the community. It's just a wonderful, I don't know, it's very difficult. It's a very difficult time. Well, one of my jobs here is to act as the timekeeper, right? And I'm watching and realizing that we're pretty close to the end of our time. I really want to thank Doug. I think, Doug, as a citizen in Southborough, I think, you're making a real effort to kind of help folks get through a lot of this stuff, and I think, we're very interested. If you contact the cable station or us, we're interested in what folks have to say about who you would want to see and the issues that you're concerned about over the next several months, but the bottom line, and Dr. Ricard, of course, it's so great having guests that, I kind of know. For Dr. Ricard and Tammy Pozerycki, they've been such anchors to these communities for so long. And it's great to see them both. But so folks, we just want you to know there are folks there trying to help. We're trying to help Tammy, Dr. Ricard. There are so many people. We're all in this together. And we're really hoping that over the next several months, we can also be of assistance in helping you to connect with all of these folks. So we really want to thank Tammy. We want to thank Dr. Ricard. Doug, I want to thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everyone. Stay well. Thanks for having us.
Just imagine, by the end of this year, it's going to be over. It's going to be over. We just have to make it through this year, right? The next Christmas will be a great Christmas.
I'm hoping we gave people today something to think about, to say, okay, I don't have to be completely isolated if that's what you've been. There are ways to do it safely, and think about it. And if you need, we're going to have people's information at the end of this program. Reach out if you have any questions. We'll be able to help you, at least help you think about it and make your own decisions.
Right. We just got to get through to spring. Spring is in the air. It's almost here.
Right.
Well, thank you, Dr. Ricard. Thank you, Tammy. Thanks again, Doug. And
You
folks,
You're welcome.
and
Thanks,
thank you
everyone.
all for watching. And we hope you enjoyed this episode. And we'll look forward to talking to you on the next installment of Frank and Mary here in Southborough. Thanks very much.
Take care.